Hello and welcome to the Dailies. International media has been dominated by the fallout from the latest Epstein files release, with headlines across the US and UK focusing on political repercussions and renewed scrutiny of powerful figures. Alongside that, American domestic news has been grabbing attention too, from immigration enforcement changes in Minneapolis to fresh political negotiations in Washington. Let's start with the Epstein files, as international coverage of the latest release remained front-page news in the US and also in the UK, especially where political figures and royals are implicated. American outlets emphasized privacy failures and redactions pulled due to victim exposure, while British and European media highlighted new links to public figures. International press paired the story with broader debates about accountability and about power. The New York Times reports a growing legal backlash after the United States Department of Justice accidentally published victims' names in newly released Jeffery Epstein files. The report explains survivors are asking a federal judge to temporarily shut the website, saying the failures have caused real harm. It also notes Attorney General Pam Bondi's admits documents were improperly redacted. The piece highlights urgent court action, calls for independent oversight, and also renewed concern for survivor privacy amid the massive disclosure tied to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The Washington Post charts a last-minute climb down by Bill and Hillary Clinton, who agreed to testify in Congress's Jeffrey Epstein investigation days before a contempt vote. After months of resistance, they accepted open-ended depositions demanded by House Oversight Chair James Comer. Now, the piece frames the move as pressure-driven, highlighting partisan brinkmanship, shifting also committee tactics, and expanding release of Epstein files. It notes there are no accusations against the Clintons, but stresses reputational risk and procedural fights. The Wall Street Journal examines shockwaves through Britain's establishment after new Jeffrey Epstein emails implicate Peter Mandelson, prompting Prime Minister Keir Starmer to demand cooperation with US investigators. Now, the piece highlights also how alleged leaks of confidential government memos and payments intensify calls for police action, and also Mandelson's removal from public life. It also notes that the fallout widens, reaching Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, reviving scrutiny of royal ties after Epstein's conviction. The piece concludes the latest release is indeed a moment for reckoning for those in power, raising questions about judgment, transparency, and accountability, with, of course, reputations and potential legal consequences now at stake. British media was also focused on the latest release of the Epstein files. The Times revealed a bruising self-portrait of Peter Mandelson as new Jeffrey Epstein files unravel his career. In an exclusive interview, Mandelson recounts being abruptly removed as ambassador after emails showed friendship, financial help to his husband, and a leaked government memo. He admits grave errors of judgment, denies bribery, and says Epstein manipulated him. The piece tracks the rapid fallout. Quitting Labour, calls for investigations, pressure from Keir Starmer, and the collapse of Mandelson's Washington posting. Alongside personal details and also photographs, Mandelson reflects on power, naivety, and survival. The interview mixes apology with pushback, with Mandelson saying his downfall comes from old emails rather than criminal wrongdoing, while leaving open whether the veteran political figure can recover from the damage. The Telegraph argues that Gordon Brown's decision to bring Peter Mandelson back into government in 2008 set off a chain reaction, now engulfing Keir Starmer. The piece says newly released Jeffrey Epstein files show Mandelson leaking sensitive memos and maintaining close ties despite Epstein's conviction, exposing failures of vetting across Labour, including encouragement from Tony Blair. The piece also details how Mandelson later became ambassador without full checks, only to be sacked months later. It presents the episode as a failure of judgment, raising fresh questions about accountability at the highest levels of government. The Guardian also reviews the newly released Jeffrey Epstein files and what they show about Donald Trump's ties to the disgraced financier. The piece cites officials led by Todd Blanche who say there is no evidence that Trump committed wrongdoing. But the piece notes that the documents place Trump in unverified FBI tips and also victim notes and reveal links between Epstein and Trump allies, including Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, and Steve Bannon. The analysis also concludes that while Trump appears legally untouched, the picture is certainly more complex. Nadine Ghouri argues in The Independent that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has a moral duty to fully testify about what he knows of Jeffrey Epstein. The author centers survivors, condemning how powerful men remain visible while victims are erased, citing Keir Starmer's call for cooperation and the courage of Virginia Giuffre. The article frames silence by elites as complicity. The piece demands accountability, warning that privilege shielding accused men perpetuates exploitation and undermines justice itself. Other local stories grabbed attention in America as the Trump administration decides to require U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and also U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers in Minneapolis to wear body cameras. Politico reported the announcement by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, noting that many framed the move as a transparency concession after deadly incidents and bipartisan pressure. Of course, the decision aims to ease shutdown talks while promising national expansion. The piece highlights political bargaining with Mike Johnson and shows how oversight demands are reshaping immigration enforcement. And we'll end with The Economist, which examines a tentative trade truce between the United States and India after Donald Trump agreed to lower tariffs, while Narendra Modi confirmed the cuts but avoided committing on energy. It highlights potential economic benefits alongside ongoing mistrust, citing HSBC's growth warning, tensions with Pakistan, and farm trade barriers. Markets reacted positively at first, but the piece says that the success of the deal will depend on whether both sides turn promises into lasting policy. That's it from us today. Thanks for watching The Dailies, only on Al Arabiya English.